The antique crystal wineglass clinked softly against my teeth as I took another sip, watching my sister Amanda hold court at our family's monthly dinner. Her designer dress probably cost more than what they thought my shop made in a month, but that was exactly how I wanted it. So anyway, she continued, gesturing with her perfectly manicured hands, Morgan Stanley is finally recognizing my potential. The promotion comes with a corner office and a 7-figure bonus. She paused, shooting me a practiced look of concern. Oh Sarah, I'm sorry. I shouldn't brag about money when you're still running my pathetic little shop on Mason Street. A modest storefront that sold handmade jewelry and artisanal crafts. At least that's what my family thought. How is the shop doing, dear? My mother asked, her voice dripping with the same fake concern she'd perfected over years of country club gatherings. Making ends meet? I suppressed a smile, thinking about the meeting I'd had just that morning. My real business, Mason Street Enterprises, had quietly become one of the largest private manufacturing and distribution companies in the Northeast. The little shop was just a front, a carefully maintained illusion that kept my family's pity exactly where I wanted it. It's steady, I replied softly, playing my part. I sold 3 necklaces yesterday. Amanda nearly choked on her wine. 3 necklaces? Oh, sweetie. She reached across the table as if to pat my hand. You know, Morgan Stanley is always hiring in the mailroom. At least it would be a real job. I pulled my hand back, thinking about the contract sitting on my desk back at my real office. The one with Morgan Stanley's logo at the top, requesting manufacturing and distribution rights for their entire East Coast operation. The same contract that needed my signature. Or rather, the signature of S.E. Mason, the mysterious CEO of Mason Street Enterprises. I'm happy with my shop, I said, watching my father shake his head in disappointment. Sarah, he sighed, you're 32 years old. When are you going to stop playing around with this hobby and join the real business world? Your sister was already a junior VP at your age. I thought about my real office, taking up the top 3 floors of the city's most prestigious business tower. About the empire I'd built while they thought I was stringing beads and selling trinkets. Speaking of real business, Amanda straightened in her chair, preening. I just closed a massive deal for Morgan Stanley. $2 million contract with Mason Street Enterprises. They're the biggest manufacturing outfit in the region, though the CEO is some recluse nobody's ever met. I took another sip of wine, remembering how I'd reviewed that contract just hours ago. How I'd noticed the inflated costs, the hidden fees, the clever little clauses that would have cost my company millions more than necessary. That's wonderful, sweetheart, our mother beamed. Another triumph for our corporate star. It's nothing really, Amanda waved her hand modestly. Just doing what I do best, making money while some people. She glanced at me, prefer to play shop. The evening continued in its usual way. Amanda bragging about her corporate success, our parents glowing with pride, and me sitting quietly, playing the role of family disappointment. As dessert arrived, my phone buzzed quietly. Excuse me, I said, checking the message. Shop emergency. Oh no, Amanda's voice dripped sarcasm. Did someone knock over your bead box? I stood up, gathering my simple handbag Hermes, though they assumed it was a knockoff. Actually, I need to sign some paperwork. A contract. A contract. My father laughed. For what? More costume jewelry. I smiled, thinking about Amanda's precious Morgan Stanley deal. Something like that. Have a lovely evening, everyone. As I drove away in my deliberately modest car, I could hear them still talking about me. Poor Sarah, still playing with her little shop. Such a disappointment. If only they knew. Back in my real office, I looked at the Morgan Stanley contract again. Amanda's signature was there, bold and confident, right next to where mine should go. Instead, I pulled out my red stamp and pressed it firmly across the first page. Rejected. Tomorrow my sister would learn that her big career triumph had just gone up in smoke. But that was just the beginning. Because what Amanda didn't know was that Mason Street Enterprises wasn't just rejecting her contract. We were about to become Morgan Stanley's biggest competitor in manufacturing logistics. I picked up my phone and called my assistant. Janet, implement Project Phoenix. It's time to show Morgan Stanley what real business looks like. Yes, Ms. Mason, she replied. And your sister's reaction? I smiled, remembering Amanda's smirk at dinner. She'll find out soon enough. After all, Family should always be the first to know when their world is about to change. The next morning I sat in my corner office on the 47th floor, watching the sunrise paint the city skyline in shades of gold. My real office, not the cozy little shop space that my family thought was my whole world. Janet appeared in the doorway, a tablet in her hand and a barely suppressed smile on her face. "It's starting," she said. Morgan Stanley's stock just dropped 3% on the pre-market trading after our announcement. I nodded, pulling up the press release on my screen. Mason Street Enterprises launches revolutionary manufacturing and distribution network, direct competition to traditional banking logistics. The business world was about to be shaken, and my sister's precious corner office would be right at the epicenter. My phone buzzed. Amanda's name flashed on the screen, along with 6 missed calls from earlier this morning. I let it go to voicemail, instead turning on the live feed from Morgan Stanley's trading floor. The chaos was beautiful to watch. "Ms. Mason," Janet interrupted my thoughts. "Your sister just arrived in the lobby. Is quite insistent about seeing ye, Mason." I straightened my designer suit. No more playing the shabby shopkeeper. Let her wait 10 minutes, then send her up. Those 10 minutes were delicious. Through the security feed, I watched Amanda pace the lobby, her perfect composure cracking with each passing moment. Her hair, usually immaculate, was slightly disheveled. Her designer outfit showed signs of being thrown on in haste. When Janet finally escorted her into my office, Amanda's eyes went wide, first taking in the spectacular view, then the elegant furnishings, and finally landing on me, her supposedly unsuccessful sister sitting behind a massive mahogany desk. "Sarah." She blinked rapidly as if trying to clear her vision. What are you doing here?" "I'm here to see S.E. Mason." I leaned back in my chair, enjoying the moment. "You are seeing S.E. Mason. Sarah Elizabeth Mason, at your service." The color drained from her face. "No. This is impossible. You run a jewelry shop. You make trinkets. You're a disappointment." I finished for her. "Failure. Someone who needs to get a real job." I stood up, walking around my desk. "Funny how perceptions can be deceiving, isn't it?" "The contract," she whispered, realization dawning. "You rejected it. You're the mysterious so everyone's been trying to meet." I picked up the rejected contract from my desk. "Did you really think I wouldn't notice the hidden fees? The inflated costs? The clever little clauses that would have bled my company dry?" "Your company?" Her voice cracked. "Mason Street Enterprises is. But how? Remember when Grandpa died?" I sat on the edge of my desk. Everyone thought he left me nothing but that old building on Mason Street. But Grandpa knew something you all didn't. That building sat on top of the old manufacturing district's documentation center. Years of contracts, patents, and industrial secrets. While you were climbing the corporate ladder, I was building something real. Amanda sank into one of the visitor chairs, her legs seemingly unable to hold her anymore. The shop. A perfect cover. Who would suspect the girl selling handmade jewelry was actually running a multi-billion-dollar manufacturing empire? I smiled. Certainly not my successful sister, who couldn't stop reminding me how much better she was. Just then Janet appeared in the doorway. "Ms. Mason, Morgan Stanley's CEO, is on line 1. He's not happy about the press release." "Of course he's not," I replied calmly. "We just announced we're taking over 60% of their manufacturing logistics business." I turned back to Amanda. "That was your department, wasn't it? Shame about all those clients you're about to lose." "You'll destroy my career," she whispered. "Like you tried to destroy my reputation? All those years of mockery, of belittling my choices, of treating me like I was beneath you." I walked to the window, looking out at the city I'd quietly conquered. "Actions have consequences, dear sister. Perhaps it's time you learned that." My phone buzzed again. Our parents this time. News traveled fast in the business world, and by now they must have realized that their disappointing daughter wasn't so disappointing after all. "Janet," I called out. "Please escort my sister out." "And Amanda." I turned back to her, my voice steel beneath silk. "Do give my regards to your bosses at Morgan Stanley. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of each other soon, across the negotiating table, of course." As Amanda was led out, her designer heels wobbling slightly, I picked up my phone. Time to deal with the next phase of my revelation. After all, I had a family dinner to plan for next month, and something told me the conversation would be very different this time. The corporate world was about to learn a valuable lesson about underestimating the quiet ones. And my family? They were about to learn that success doesn't always wear a Morgan Stanley badge and a corner office smile. The next family dinner came faster than expected. This time I didn't arrive in my usual modest attire. Instead, I chose a perfectly tailored Chanel suit, real jewelry that made my sister's collection look like costume pieces, and arrived in my rarely used Bentley. The valet at the country club did a double take. He was used to parking my old Toyota. Inside, the atmosphere was thick enough to cut with a knife. My parents sat at our usual table, their usual confidence replaced by a strange mix of shock and calculation. Amanda wasn't there. She'd been reassigned to Morgan Stanley's small satellite office in Minnesota after losing their biggest manufacturing contracts. Sarah, my mother stood up, her social training kicking in despite her obvious discomfort. You look different. Amazing what you can afford when you run a multi-billion-dollar company, I replied, taking my seat. Though I suppose you've all figured that out by now. My father cleared his throat. Princess, we should talk about this situation. As a family. Now you want to talk? I raised an eyebrow. Not when I was building my company. Not when I was working 18-hour days. Not when your precious Amanda was mocking my little shop? We didn't know, my mother protested weakly. Because you never asked. I signaled the waiter for a bottle of wine. The expensive kind I usually pretended I couldn't afford. Too busy celebrating Amanda's corporate success to notice what I was actually building. Speaking of building, my father leaned forward, his business instincts finally overriding his shock. Perhaps we could discuss some family investment opportunities. Now that we know about your position. I laughed, the sound carrying across the quiet restaurant. Family investment? Like when you refused to loan me startup money because playing shop wasn't a real business plan. Just then my phone buzzed. Janet's message made me smile. Interesting timing. It seems Morgan Stanley's stock just dropped another 5%. Apparently, losing their manufacturing division to a competitor is having quite an impact. Your sister, my mother began, but I cut her off, has learned a valuable lesson about underestimating people. Which reminds me. I pulled a folder from my briefcase. I've just acquired the building where her new Minnesota office is located. Rent's going up next month, significantly. That's cruel, my father protested. Cruel. I set down my wine glass carefully. Like making me eat in the kitchen during business dinners because my little shop embarrassed you? Like telling potential investors not to waste time on my hobby business? Like watching Amanda tear down every achievement I ever had because it didn't fit your definition of success. The silence that followed was deafening. Around us, other country club members pretended not to listen, but I could see them hanging on every word. The mysterious S.E. Mason's identity was now the talk of the business world, and my family's reaction was just icing on the cake. We were wrong, my mother finally said softly. We should have supported you. Yes, you should have. I stood up, smoothing my designer skirt. But you didn't. And now you get to live with that knowledge. Oh, and one more thing. I pulled out another document. I've just bought this country club. Your memberships are up for review next month. I hear the public golf course across town is quite nice. As I walked out, my heels clicking on the marble floor, I could feel their stares burning into my back. But it didn't matter anymore. The quiet girl with the little shop had become the power player they always wanted in the family. Just not in the way they expected. Back in my real office, I looked out over the city lights. My phone had been buzzing non-stop, relatives suddenly remembering my existence, business magazines requesting interviews, Amanda sending desperate apologies from Minnesota. Janet appeared with my evening coffee. Your parents are in the lobby. They've been trying to get an appointment all week. I smiled, thinking about all the times they'd made me wait, all the times they'd dismissed my dreams. Tell them S.E. Mason's schedule is fully booked. They can try again next quarter. And your sister's request to transfer back to the main office? Tell Morgan Stanley that Mason Street Enterprises is happy with their current Minnesota representative. No changes needed. As Janet left, I touched the small key I wore on a chain around my neck. The key to my little shop on Mason Street. I still opened it every Saturday, still sold handmade jewelry and crafts. Not because I needed to, but because it reminded me of where I started. of how the empire everyone had dismissed was built on the foundation of that pathetic little shop. Success, I'd learned, wasn't about corner offices or designer labels. It was about building something real, something lasting. And sometimes the best revenge isn't proving people wrong. It's proving yourself right in ways they never saw coming. The city lights twinkled below, each one a reminder of the empire I'd built while my family was too busy looking down on me to notice I was rising above them. In the end, the little shop they'd mocked had become the foundation of their downfall, and the daughter they'd dismissed had become the power they couldn't ignore. Sometimes the biggest successes come in the quietest packages. And sometimes, just sometimes, the best way to show your worth is to let them discover it when it's too late to claim any part of it. I picked up my phone and drafted a group text to my family. Next month's dinner is cancelled. I have a real business to run. Then I turned back to my empire, leaving their desperate messages unanswered. After all, success is the best revenge, especially when served with a side of perfect timing and a garnish of poetic justice.